Hey everyone, I'm Tom,
I'm Carl.
and welcome to the first episode of our new podcast, Cultiverse, where we're going to be talking about all news and our own views on everything going on in the entertainment industry and just the world of cultness right now.
Yeah,
So
it should be fun.
it should be very fun, yeah. So let's start off with the news.
Probably the biggest news in entertainment this week was the Game of Thrones trailer launched, the second trailer so far.
Yeah.
So there was quite a lot going on in it. Didn't give away too much though, so not very spoilery.
No. I think the HBO sort of team have got that down now in terms of not revealing too much about what the new series is, but giving you enough to go on and speculate for weeks on end about what's going to happen. What did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It kind of alluded to a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of conflict to come, hopefully. Also, winter has apparently come for a lot of our characters.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Jon seems to have gone even more north of the wall. He's just chilling around there.
There's some exploration to be done.
Yeah.
A lot of places we haven't seen above the wall just yet.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think we're all waiting for that wall to come down, really.
yeah. Just like a few years' time, they will be in Mexico. But that's
Yeah,
another
exactly.
that's another story.
Oh god.
A wall of a whole different kind.
I was assuming that this series is going to take primarily just in the south. I assume that this series will be more the human conflict, and then everyone eventually rallying around and hopefully fighting against the undead. But
Yeah,
you never know with Game of Thrones.
You never do. I'd always had the thought that you'd get to the end of the sort of conflict between the 5 or the 7 kings, however many kings, there can't be that many left now, but that you'd get through that, and then at the end you'd have a reigning sort of victor, and then the White Walkers would come to reign on that parade at the end.
It just seems to be everyone's in disarray at the worst possible time, which I suppose is the point. But I don't know. Do you have any predictions for the upcoming series?
Ooh, predictions.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of prophecies that still have to be fulfilled.
yeah. We had those prophecies in that Cersei flashback.
Got the Cersei
season
stuff
or so ago. About, and a few of them have come to pass with her children sort of not outliving her.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
The golden shrouds, or however they refer to it. I would say, I think we're going to see a lot more, and the cast seem to have alluded to this, a lot more team-ups of characters. I think you're going to start to see characters come together. I would imagine Starks and Targaryens, we're going to see, however that goes, whether it turns into conflict or an alliance. I can see those finally clashing heads now.
Those words by Jon Snow apparently to Daenerys or someone else would allude to the fact that they're going to team up with the Targaryens, but you don't know. It could be another.
Could be the Tarleys for all we know.
What's left of them, you know.
Ready for Samwell to get back from that library which he went off to last series.
He's in Old Town, you know. He's got his books. He's happy.
He's got his books. He's there with, I believe, Jim Broadbent. They're bringing in this series, a new character as a maester there. So he's got a lot of fun times to come there.
I'm hoping he dies at some point, Sam.
That's nice. Because he's putting in a lot of effort. He deserves a quick death, really, doesn't he? At some point.
You know, in like a world of chaos and these lovely characters getting mown down.
Yeah, he's too good for this.
He is
world,
too good
really,
for this world.
He?
I think he's lived too long. You know.
Yeah. You know, it's about time they off him. Just
a friend of mine the other day is hoping that his dad is going to come away to Town and just like put a sword in his back and just hopefully that's for the best.
It feels like a natural end to his storyline, doesn't it? It's, he's gone off for this big quest, and just he's coming back with the information that might, stop the White Walkers.
Just that, and his dad just plows a knife in his back, you know.
Yeah. It's just dad comes in and just says, "Look, this storyline's been treading the water way too long now. We're all bored of it, you know."
I assume he'll be finding the secret to defeating the White Walkers. It would pretty assume that he'd discover that in his book librarian day job.
You would hope so. You'd hope that they're putting him to good use there, provided his dad doesn't kill him. Midway through the series, I think. Yeah.
I mean, hoping it doesn't take too long for Daenerys to finally reach Westeros after all this time.
Yes, I think we're pretty much hoping it's not actually going to be 7 episodes of her on the boat gradually, and all the shots we've seen are from episode 7, just her lap. Now, I think a lot of actors, particularly, is it Nikolai Coster-Waldau, who plays Jamie, was saying when he was reading the scripts, he thought, I think even the early episodes, that the pacing might as well have been they were at the finale already. It sounds like the pace is going to ramp up. So I would think we'll see Daenerys get to Dragonstone, especially given how the trailers have shown it, fairly quickly. And then a lot of the season will then hopefully depend on kind of her moving her army forward. It looked like we had some shots of the Unsullied sort of taking on the Lannisters in battle of some kind, with the dragons obviously out in battle. So hopefully that means it's going to be a season that really pushes on with the pacing of the series. We don't have another, as we've had 3 seasons of Daenerys or whatever, just stuck around. What is the name of the area she was stuck in?
She was a Marine for a long time,
Yeah.
and various other places, which...
Oh, the Dothraki kind of walk out for half of last
Vastofrak.
Yeah, Vastofrak.
And she should have been here, I think, probably a season earlier. But
I feel like they were... My theory with it always was that they were waiting for... hoping that George R.R. Martin would eventually get his book out, so they didn't have to outrun him, and then it's just becoming a point of, well, either we stretch out the show Walking Dead style, or we
don't talk about Walking Dead.
We
on this
don't
podcast.
talk about Walking
It's
Dead. We love it too much to talk.
It's the only
talk
rule on
about.
Cultiverse. We don't discuss Walking Dead.
It's the only rule, unless we want to rant about it, of course. But
I assume we'll talk about it when it returns.
I'm sure we will do. But yeah, no, let's say great trailer. It's out July the 16th. Well, episode 1 airs July the 16th, HBO, and July the 17th, Sky Atlantic, I think. So
you should work for HBO, Tom. You seem to know.
Well, if anyone from HBO is listening in, I would not turn down that job. So, thanks in advance. But
yeah,
so less than a month to go.
It looks like King's Landing is going to be, hopefully, destroyed very soon.
You've got a very sadistic way of looking at a lot of Game of Thrones, don't you?
No, it's just my hatred of Sam,
If Sam's in King's Landing when it gets destroyed,
even better.
Yeah. Laid siege by Sam's dad, it will all come together for you, won't it?
Who do you think's going to kill Cersei? Like, who has the most the retribution against her? Tyrion
was the first one who came to mind. It would have a bit of poetic justice if Jaime killed her.
He's the second king or queen. He's the second Kingslayer.
He is, yeah.
But it may come to that, but they probably die together.
That's what I'm thinking.
It seems poetic, yeah.
Yeah, it may be tragically, because Jaime's indicated he wants to kill Tyrion himself. I think he told Bronn as much. So maybe it ends up that Tyrion has to kill both of them. He has to kill the brother who he sorely loves in order to kill the sister who he sorely hates. It's a horrible...
And on that note, the second piece of news
in terms of mercy killing
was it's the yet unnamed solo standalone movie, which has recently lost its 2 directors. It's lost its directors. I get the names mixed the wrong way around. Chris Lord and Phil Miller. You may be right.
Or was it Phil Lord and Chris Miller? I
had it written down. Phil Lord, Chris Miller. Yeah,
Phil Lord, Chris Miller. Okay.
They were probably on Lego Movie as their most well known.
Yes, and the 21 and 22 Jump Street films
of course,
as well.
Yeah. I mean, apparently, I think Kathleen Kennedy came out and didn't this necessarily come out and say, but it was sort of.
I think she said
rumored that they were doing too much comedy.
Yes.
For the film.
She just called it creative differences, I believe, which is the most diplomatic way you can ever summarise, rather than having to ever say firing or anything like that. But it sounded like comedy, which maybe unsurprisingly, given if we've just said Lego Movie and 2 Jump Street films, very comedy orientated, maybe shouldn't come as a shock that was potentially an issue.
Apparently they were just improvising so many scenes, and I think that triggered the executives at Lucasfilm. Yeah. Even under George, I don't think that was tolerated. So
I'm not sure how much was tolerated under George, unless it was CGI.
Definitely not a good script or good filmmaking.
Oh, absolutely not. At least for the second half of your films, anyway.
True.
Yeah, no, it's. I don't know. What do you think of it as news? Are you sad to lose them?
I mean, they may not have been necessarily in keeping with the kind of Star Wars brand we've been sort of getting used to. So I'm not particularly looking forward to this film anyway. It just strikes me as a film that doesn't really need to be told. I mean, you're introduced as Han Solo as a kind of a very questionable moral character, and then he grows into what he eventually becomes in Force Awakens. And now is it going to be a comedy movie? Is it going to be a coming of age kind of thing? I don't know. It could work. Just like Rogue One. Rogue One was a good film. We had issues with it.
We definitely, had at least one or two issues with that film. I think it fell a bit into the trap again of what you've just said of the did we really need this story to be told? Of the opening title scroll of A New Hope told us that the rebels had won a historic victory and got the Death Star plans. Did we really need that one sentence to be turned into a...
Possibly not.
Who can say?
Probably definitely not. But I mean, it's fan service, isn't it? And I mean, the Han Solo standalone could be good. Do you know who's the replacement?
It is Ron Howard, I believe.
Ron Howard
of the Da Vinci Code trilogy he did.
Oh, definitely a change in tone then.
It shows how little I know of Ron Howard, because Da Vinci is definitely not his most well-known material.
Yeah.
I am just trying to... He's done much bigger... He wasn't Braveheart, was he? That was Mel Gibson. Or Mel Gibson was in Braveheart. Did Ron Howard...
He may have directed. I don't know anything about Ron Howard.
He may have directed. He made some well-known films enough. He's not known for, in the same way as Lord and Miller are a really sort of distinctive style, I don't think. But if you're trying to salvage this Han Solo film, then maybe that's kind of what you want, is someone with not too unique...
Has it been in production for long? Is this going to be a...
There were 3 weeks of shooting left. They were close to being done on filming. I believe they've said they'll do the 3 weeks of shooting. Ron Howard's going to look at the footage they've got already, and then have about 5 or 6 weeks of reshoots as well, to basically work out what material do they need to outright replace, what do they need to do to get the narrative back on track. But yeah, have you got a list there of Ron Howard?
Apollo 13, but this is in the 90s. Rush recently.
Oh yeah. Rush, that was great with Chris Hemsworth. Really enjoyed that.
The Da Vinci Code, as you said.
Yep.
Various other films, obviously Angel and Demons, The Dilemma.
Is that In the Heart of the Sea there, the Chris Hemsworth?
In the Heart of the Sea.
With Moby Dick.
Frost Nixon. So yeah, it's a decent array of films.
Yeah, I think people have been saying that he's a little bit hit and miss, particularly recently. But if it's more Rush than it is Inferno, then from my recollection of Inferno last year, that definitely was not one of his finest hours. But if you can do a Rush where it's really tightly directed and has you on the edge of your seat, but you can also be laughing along as well, as you'd kind of expect from a movie with Han Solo in it, then it'll still work well. And the lead actor in it is it Alden Ehrenreich? His name's a strange name, the guy playing him. But did you see Hail Caesar last year?
I didn't know. They're good.
It was interesting. It was one of those explorations of the film industry, which the Oscars clearly love most of the time, with the artists and everything like that. Very much explored the golden era, so around the 50s or 60s, and had some fun with communism and things in there as well. So there were bits with a good laugh, but Alden was fantastic. He shared a scene with Ralph Fiennes at one point where he was used to being a cowboy, sort of an actor playing cowboy characters in westerns. So he was coming into this really intense family drama, and he didn't know how to read the lines in a serious way. He only knew how to look off into the distance and do really western sort of drama. So there was this hilarious Ralph Fiennes being this serious director character to him just being this totally incompetent sort of mainstream actor, and he just, in a film that I think a lot of the humour didn't quite miss the mark, did miss the mark a little. Coen brothers just trying to go a little bit overly intelligent, as they sometimes do. That scene just had me in stitches. So the idea of having him as Han Solo, although it's very hard to picture anyone other than Harrison Ford being Han Solo, is promising. Hopefully that and Ron Howard might help it.
Given Harrison Ford's contempt for the character anyway.
He wanted him killed, didn't he? In Return of the
Jedi. He was overjoyed when he was finally ousted in Force Awakens.
Maybe they can do the same for Indiana Jones when that's due to come back in a few years' time.
Oh god, but, I mean, you can't really top Crystal Skull, so
you cannot.
It is masterful,
absolute gem of a film right there. So hopefully that's going to go well with Han Solo.
Yeah, I mean,
it's due out next May, so they need to ramp up kind of the production and things to get it back on track, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it could take the form of even like kind of a heist movie. It'd be interesting. That's what I assumed what Rogue One was going to go more for, but it went quite dark.
Yeah,
quite heavy. So moving probably more onto gaming side of stuff now. Just off the back of E3, obviously a whole array of gaming news has been flooding the websites. But Modern Warfare remaster getting a standalone release.
Yes, getting standalone re-release.
After a long time, given that initially it was packaged with Infinite Warfare,
yeah,
which was a source of contempt for me anyway. So I just wanted to play the Modern Warfare remaster,
which of course they knew by pricing it. Was it something like £100? It was an expensive Legacy Edition bundle. It wasn't cheap to get the two. They were essentially adding on another game's price. I think it came
with the normal $60.
I'd have to look into it, but I think it came. I think you got the normal one, or you got a Legacy Edition that had Modern Warfare in it.
How dare they do that?
Otherwise, why would they release it? If it was such a bargain to get the two together originally, why would they release it as its own? That would be seen as cash cow if they released it as its own thing, but priced it at the same as the standard edition.
Isn't it? Is it at least on launch? It was exclusively PS4
for the re-release.
Yeah.
So I believe it's June the 27th. So by the time I don't know. By the time this podcast comes out, it will probably already be out, but it's coming out exclusively on PS4 first, and then at an undetermined date, it's coming out on Xbox One and PC.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to the PC release, but it's probably too late, right? And it's
well, they've given themselves a few months before World War II, Call of Duty World War II. Maybe they're just trying to get those last few fans who didn't get it with Infinite Warfare last year want to pick it up and replay it before their World War II one comes in November.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got a Modern Warfare 2 remaster fairly soon. Wildly popular at the time. It makes it. I mean, it's 2009. It's almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Which is, I remember playing that like it was last week. So
absolutely, yeah. I can remember people bunking off school to play that as if it was.
That's ridiculous.
Last week, getting up to Prestige as quickly as you can.
So remasters just seem to be flooding around. That's probably an easy way for them to make their money, I suppose. Especially how much Switch edition.
Yep, and the VR version of it coming out as E3
and the special edition.
Special edition was that?
That was a while ago now.
Was that the one released on One and PS4? Or was that...
But it was just a basic upgrade in visuals. They didn't change anything else.
Well, that's similar to GTA 5 and Shadow of the Colossus, is it, I believe?
It's getting a remaster,
they were doing. Nintendo Switch has been suffering with it in some ways because it feels like half of the games that have come out for the Switch right now are, as with the Wii U, again, kind of high-res versions of games we've already played. I think Rayman Legends I loved as a game, but I don't know how many versions of that game they've now wheeled out for Nintendo consoles. I'd rather they just made a new Rayman game, but...
In all honesty, I'm actually quite excited for the Crash Bandicoot remaster, the Insanity trilogy, or whatever it's called.
I think that's out, again, as of the time of us recording this coming week.
Is that out this week? Oh, excellent.
Soon.
No, that looks fantastic, and I think the developers have really put effort into putting that to... reflecting how it was. I think they built it from the ground up, new engine, but it looks really nice.
Absolutely, it looks like a massive upgrade. It's one of the few games that's making me. I have an Xbox One right now, but making me want a PS4 to be honest to jump over to that. So
it's crazy. It's been 20 years since the first. Pretty more. No, 1996.
That sounds right. I think it was to late 90s that they first started releasing for the PS1 the Crash games. Yeah,
but a bit of me, I've been watching all of the side by sides, and a bit of me prefers the original art because it's so basic. But I don't know, maybe for newer fans that have never played it before, it's a chance for them to re-experience Crash Bandicoot
in a new light without having to think that these graphics look hugely inferior to what. I think there's a certain charm to going back and playing the original. I remember with Tomb Raider. I don't know if you remember, they did a Tomb Raider anniversary edition where they remade the PS1 Tomb Raider where you had the T-Rexes and all the fantastical. And they did that, and they brought it back, but you could have different costumes. And one of what they did was you could have the pixelated Lara with
I saw
all
that.
the sort of jagged sort of pixels and everything.
So many.
So they clearly, a lot of developers understand that, want that desire for, what was it, Halo Combat Evolved, things about it. That anniversary edition literally let you
You can switch between
the two, sort of the up-res version and the original. I think same with Halo 2 when they did it for the
Master Chief Collection.
The Master Chief Collection, absolutely. So it can be done right. I hope the remake trend starts to fade a little bit, especially as we go into the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, because you get to a point where also with all the Jurassic Worlds and the Ghostbusters, where you start becoming too reliant on that
Of course.
nostalgia to generate sales. It's fine to keep a franchise going, but relying too much on anniversary editions and things to remake, it means you never move forward, I suppose.
Well, the sort of next bit of news was the announcement that Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat, the creators of Sherlock and heavily involved in Doctor Who, obviously.
Yeah.
They're moving on to a Dracula modern day retelling.
It sounds. I don't think they've confirmed it's a modern day retelling yet. They told an interviewer last night. I think Morgan Jeffrey from Digital Spy said, all we can confirm is it's not Dracula solving crimes, so it's not a just straight up remake of Sherlock.
You'd think it would be modern day.
Well, they had a lot of success with Sherlock doing it, with bringing 18th, 19th century, 18th century kind of novel and sort of story into the present day. So I can't imagine. And Mark Gatiss has starred in a Dracula audio drama for Big Finish before, so I imagine they're not going to cast him again as Dracula here, but he obviously knows the story and has a lot of respect for it. So
I mean, his performance as Lazarus in Doctor Who,
yes,
he's already got experience as a sort of monster of some sort. But
he does. Or of, who was it? There was a character with the eye patch, not Nick Fury and not Madame Kavarian, but at the end of series 6, where I think it was the wedding of River Song, there was this guy with these weird Viking horns and things.
Oh, right, yeah.
He played, and again, extensive makeup. You wouldn't recognise him as it, probably for the better. But he's got, I think he likes doing sort of slightly otherworldly roles and things, which Dracula definitely fits into.
He loves his sort of Victorian and Shakespearean. I think he's quite a wordsmith, Mark Gatiss. He's
Yes, I swear he did a poem to respond to a Sherlock review at some point. The Guardian did a review where they said Sherlock was becoming too like James Bond in that first episode.
Oh right, yeah.
Recently, and he did a poem to respond to it. So I think he's got. What do you think of the idea of doing sort of a Dracula adaptation?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the idea. I think Sherlock could definitely do. It may not ever come back, but it could definitely do with a break and just. Those first 2 seasons of Sherlock were masterful. They were so good, and I think there's so much to work on with Dracula. There's a great opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that should be really good. It's very early stages. I think it's just literally they've not even written many of the scripts yet, have they?
No, I think it's probably the kernel of an idea.
Is that famous story where they met each other on the train by accident and came up with Sherlock? Maybe they were on a similar train.
A similar train, a train of thought, as it were. But that they came up with the Dracula. I think I was reading that. Again, it's just been an idea of they've probably discussed in the past. Oh, we like Dracula, but we're too busy with Doctor Who and Sherlock and everything. And of course, Stephen Moffat's only got a couple of months of sort of working at the helm of Doctor Who left. So.
Thankfully.
Oh, well, that's a debatable one. But so I think it's probably a project they've wanted to do for a little while, and now's the perfect opportunity for them. I don't think Mark Gatiss is particularly busy, other than reviving the League of Gentlemen, I last heard. But so we'll see what comes of it. Do you think, my only thought with it is, do you think there's a risk that there have been too many Dracula adaptations kind of in the past?
There's been a lot of vampire stuff, especially in video games and stuff, but I don't think it's necessarily saturated.
No. We had Dracula Untold a couple of years ago. I don't believe I saw it. The Luke Evans film that they'd originally
Did you
wanted
see it?
to.
You didn't.
I don't think I did. No.
There's
Got mixed reviews.
There's been Hemlock Grove a few years ago.
Yes.
That was more more werewolfy, but still.
Being Human had the vampire werewolf set up the sort of series about 10 years or so ago.
And the US one is, I think it's not on anymore, but
don't think so. No, but obviously vampire. Oh, is it True Blood? We've had a few. There've been a few vampire based.
A bit of them are a bit more sort of. They're not necessarily the most serious shows in the world. There are always like there's a True Blood and Vampire Diaries and all these ones, which. Yeah. But I'd like to see how them two approach it. Hopefully with some good storylines.
Particularly, like I say, if it is a modern day retelling, that will be an interesting point to put Dracula in. Can that work? I think it can. If Being Human showed it can, but can that format of a seemingly immortal, person living out their life, potentially being warded back by ancient crosses and.
It'd be interesting to how supernatural it becomes. I'm quite looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Sort of speaking of Doctor Who, should we just go straight into the most recent episode, which aired yesterday?
Yes, at the time of recording this, that one aired yesterday. Absolutely.
So, World Enough and Time.
You couldn't have said it better myself.
The sort of is it penultimate episode of this series?
Yes. Second last one.
For once, this is a bit of a regularity, but we actually both really enjoyed this episode. We
did. That's as we'll talk about in a bit. That's not a common occurrence this season, but
So we're probably going to go into sort of spoiler territory now. So from this point until the end of the podcast, if you haven't watched the episode, please go in at your own. This is a warning, basically.
Yeah. So if you don't want to know, for example, that Nodal's been a Cyberman all along, then might be the time you skip out now. It's because that's all genuine spoilers.
And obviously, and Stephen Moffat was also revealed as the next Master.
Absolutely, and the next Doctor all at once. So
they've combined the two.
They've combined the two. Maybe they've been combined all along. So if you don't want but seriously, if you don't want any real spoilers, we're gonna start talking about it now. I think in a lot of detail. It's not an episode you can talk about much without.
It would be very difficult to go spoiler free on this one.
I didn't envy any of the spoiler free reviewers.
And even the Doctor Who marketing team decided that they
who needs to go spoiler free. We're gonna reveal, and this is a spoiler, that John Sim is in it. From the first episode of the series.
Yeah. So, that's not a spoiler for anyone listening to this. It was sort of all over Twitter and all over their marketing. I assume in an attempt to kind of win back viewers.
Yeah.
Try and bring back some of the Tennant era
viewers longing for those days of David Tennant, because it's 8 years or so ago now since
End of Time.
Aired. Yeah, End of Time, Last of the Time Lords / Sound of John / Utopia. That's 2007 and 2009 to 10. So it's a decade to 8 years ago.
I wouldn't say he's actually aged that much in that time. He looked kind of fresh faced. I mean, last time we saw him, he was kind of animalistic and a bit rough, but
blonde hair.
Yeah. I suppose we just go straight into it. It kind of revealed right at the end after a kind of painstaking. Who's the character that
Razor? I believe they called.
So obviously he's revealed early on in the episode as this character, and it's because of the marketing. It was basically painfully obvious that it was in fact John Sim under a lot of prosthetic. Yeah.
Although not everyone seemed to. When I looked on Twitter, not everyone seemed to have got it immediately.
I didn't get it immediately. I must admit, because I didn't understand why the Master would be playing this character for so long. I mean, given that him and Bill must have been down there for years. So why was he just sitting there, just putting on this silly, strange accent and these bad jokes? I mean, I don't know what he was getting out of that.
No, I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to get out of it, and I don't feel Moffat is the sort of writer who likes to actually spend much time going in the next episode. Oh, so why did you put on that big pretense for 45 minutes? I think he just expects you to sort of go along with the ride of him saying, I like disguises, and that's just about enough to justify him sitting down there for years.
I assume Moffat just has a destination in mind and then just writes for it, and then kind of forgets about a lot of the stuff in between.
Yes, yeah.
But it must have been some reason for him spending so much time down there, unless he had literally nothing else to do apart from just, play with Bill and make her mop floors.
And how would he have known, other than the distress call, that they were going to come? And did he know his future incarnation was going to appear with them? Has he been watching their,
It must have been intentional.
I hope so, but I feel most series have a clear sort of arc, even series 8 had Missy watching from heaven sort of the progress of these characters, maybe seeing Clara and Danny come close together to make events so that Clara had to come and rescue Danny. So that had an arc that built towards some kind of scheme, or series 4 had the darkness gradually setting in, series 5 with the cracks. This series, the arc feels as if it's been a bit of an afterthought to me. It's been a lot of end of episode, now we have the compulsory Missy scene.
Missy vault scene.
Yeah,
I think that has been the arc, almost. I don't know if you're still questioning, but I'm still questioning whether Missy will ultimately... Will she betray her previous incarnation? You'd assume not, but... I mean, it would kind of ruin the character, but will she ultimately save the Doctor and Bill, potentially?
Possibly. There is definitely that possibility.
There's always that.
I certainly hope it's not just... and to be honest, we're talking about probably little quibbles here with an episode we largely sort of enjoyed, but I hope it's not just Missy kind of having reverted in a conversation we didn't even see, reverted back to her old ways so instantaneously, because they've been building that up all season. So for her to then just sort of waltz in and go
immediately see John Sim,
and then for that to convince her, oh well, if my past incarnation's here, I must have been doing everything wrong, in the past, because then it defeats the point of us investing in that.
But she still needed the dramatic walk in, stand next to Bill Cyberman, and then let John Sims come in and stand there. You needed that.
Oh, obviously.
That was necessary.
Needed that money shot right there. No matter what happens, no matter how Moffat explains it away in the next episode, you needed that in there.
Yeah, I know. But more generally, the episode, it was fantastic. I thought it flowed really well. The music was good. Potentially a return to form for Murray Gold.
Yeah.
Which I've found his scores largely non-existent this series.
Non-existent, or at least unmemorable.
Just boring.
Nothing either relying on old stuff or
the Cyberman designs before they were sort of just in the operation room or whatever. They were pretty terrifying, I thought.
We had sort of, I think, started to kind of say as we were getting set up to sort of record this today that what they managed to do in terms of the sort of fear factor and the suspense they managed to evoke with these Cybermen who could easily have looked... I remember when they first released that promo shot of Peter Capaldi looking scared at the Cybermen.
They looked a bit naff.
Yeah, I must admit, I thought, is this going to be played for laughs? Because this is, I know Capaldi wanted them back, but... is that just going to look like you've literally, and they might well have done, but pulled the suits out of the Doctor Who experience, venue and just for use here? But no, they built it up well. They had starting with just the cloths over there, and then a couple, as Bill was starting to get taken into the operating room, a couple with eyes or bits of the helmet, but then for the full...
Very frightening,
Yeah, I thought they built it up beautifully.
I think we talked about this earlier, but we kind of agree that they're potentially the scariest the Cybermen have ever been.
Potentially so, yeah.
Probably since sort of Rise of the Cybermen, Age of Steel.
Yes, yeah.
They were... I mean, I was a lot younger then, admittedly.
easily terrified.
Then. But
days of weeping.
Just sitting there watching it last night in the dark, I was getting quite scared during those scenes. They were quite very scary, actually. And I found the whole the pain and the volume meter stuff was really, really terrifying. I feel sorry for any children watching that show.
Absolutely, you better have those sofas that they're ready to get right behind, because I'd find that. I mean, we've had a couple of Cybermen. The closest we've got to a fearful concept of them, I think. Also, we had in series 8 there was the finale about the idea of when you die, you can actually feel all of the pain. That was
truly terrifying, and I think that was probably reported to Ofcom or whoever it was a lot, actually. That concept of you'll feel whatever, even if you're, after you've gone. So that was...
I wouldn't be surprised if they're saying they haven't here. We've literally seen, whether it holds is another thing, but we've literally seen the companion converted into a Cyberman who can, or Cyberwoman, however you want to put it, who can feel and remember sort of that pain, but also has the inhibitor with that bike sort of handlebars over her head, that's constraining that pain, other than her for some reason being able to cry.
You got to have the little one teardrop, just in case no one didn't know who it was.
Then that solidifies. Oh, Yeah, I didn't get it from Sideman or Mondasian Sideman.
Yeah.
I got it from that teardrop. But no, yeah, I thought the Sidemen worked really well. It was kind of fearful concept. The costume design, we were saying about the shots where for some reason Bill's just been left in a cupboard to terror.
The dramatic effect. The door just opens of its own accord, basically.
The Master has a great sense of for dramatic effect, but he's seemingly the slave of those two other people. Those two doctors you don't really get to know. But anyway, you had the chess piece, was lit up, and so when the Doctor opened the door, you could virtually see none of the Sideman except chess piece, and then gradually start to see the outline of sort of his helmet.
Fantastic. The lighting really helped, I think, because if it was in direct light, it probably wouldn't have looked intimidating.
It probably wouldn't.
The tinfoil would have come off, and
it's lucky the director Rachel Slaley knows how to direct a scene. Well, I think that worked. Yeah, really.
That's fantastic. And it's probably you know this well, but I have a lot of issues with Bill this series. She's not really grown on me. She's just kind of been there. I think, as Missy said in this episode, as just exposition.
Or comic relief, maybe.
Maybe she's comic relief. Who knows? I thought that was a fantastic line, actually.
Absolutely, I thought that worked very well. Obviously, a lot of companions are exposition to a certain extent in terms.
That is their purpose. Yeah, but I mean, some do it better than others.
Yeah, but you haven't been a big fan. What kind of traits have got on your nerves? Mostly?
I don't know. She's been fine. I just don't think she's had the best scripts to work with.
No.
She's not really had that. For me, not had that one moment where she's really sort of proven her own individuality and how she's. Maybe she has. I mean, when she shot
the Doctor in episode 8. I mean, that episode had a lot of issues, but the
scene and then immediately afterwards, they all just laughed at her, and it was immediately forgotten.
all shrugged off. You've just shot your friend. It's nothing really that serious.
Yeah, that's fine. She's not necessarily been bad. It's just that she's not. I don't think the scripts have helped her particularly. She's often been kind of at I feel sorry for her in a lot of ways. She's probably been the victim of the Doctor. Was it Oxygen when she was not transformed, but kind of killed for a bit,
mutated into a zombie?
I mean, she's not like a Rory level of constant death. But she's been put through quite a bit.
Yeah,
admittedly. Isn't it in the Pyramid episode? She was kind of stranded for quite a fair while by herself. She wakes up in that house. After she's obviously saved the Doctor.
Okay, so
in the second parter.
Wasn't that the third part?
The third
where
parter.
She'd woken and she'd started to visualise her mum and things, and Nardole burst in.
I think that those are some of the better elements, actually.
Yeah.
When she's doing that kind of stuff, but
it gives her a bit more of a personality and a bit more depth than she maybe gets elsewhere. I think it's a few things. I personally have quite liked her as a companion to some extent. I think she's been a refreshing departure from Clara, that she doesn't know everything. She doesn't kind of get really arrogant with
she's
time
definitely
travel.
An improvement over Clara, yeah.
Yeah, which might not be that difficult, arguably.
No,
but I don't know. I liked at first her sort of simpler way of asking questions that none of the others would ask, like where's the toilet in the TARDIS or whatever, and things. Some of that worked quite well, giving her the personality aspect of being gay. Obviously, was something that Doctor Who hasn't. Captain Jack hasn't done with a companion really before. Vasta and Jenny, but mainly secondary characters who didn't stay with the Doctor for very long, and. That was quite a good, bold move, and they played out with her sort of having a girlfriend in the first episode and trying to have a girlfriend through the Monk trilogy to varying effects. With
being interrupted by the Pope,
unfortunately. Or the head of the UN or whatever it was the next time. They've tried to play it out. It's varied, because there have been a couple of episodes where you had someone go, I quite fancy you, and her have to reiterate, no, I don't fancy, whether it's Romans or whether it's the guy in Knock
the
Knock,
Romans,
the teenager. It's like, okay, we know she's gay, we get the point. You wouldn't be doing the same thing, but it's a straight character. So that got a little bit on my nerves, where it's like, you need to, for this to be a full kind of real success for, I know people think it is for LGBTQ plus diversity, or as Theresa May put it, and all the other ones.
All the other ones.
For it to be a real success, I think you need to normalise it, which Jack, I always thought, sort of did make it. There was no real, he was gay, or he was maybe bi, but there was no real fuss made about it, to be honest. They made a few jokes, but not too much. But here, there's sometimes been oh, we sort of have to defend the choice that we made her gay a little
I
bit.
agree.
They haven't done too much with the racial side of it. Martha had a few episodes where she, with Shakespeare and things, went back in history, and they did it with her in Thin Ice, this series, a little bit of the kind of getting called some kind of creature or whatever by that really aristocratic man. But so I don't know, Bill's worked well on some levels. They just haven't given her a great deal of development. The whole mum
That's
thing
my
never,
issue.
never got that much to it.
I feel like a lot of the components are defined by how good the episodes have been, and for me, I haven't. They've been quite good episodes. This one in particular, I thought she was fantastic in.
Yeah. But overall,
overall, I mean, if it's a bad episode, I'm not gonna warm to her, even if she's very good in it.
yeah.
And she was quite good in Thin Ice, I thought, actually.
I thought she had some really good moments in that. I would agree. I think a lot of this series has been quite average or underwhelming, really, which is a shame, because I think Doctor Who is at its best when, even if it has some misses, it has some real, not missies, but misses. It had some. I feel terrible for even making that joke.
That's being edited out, Tom.
that one definitely, yeah. I'm sure you will. It's definitely not going to be edited out. But I like it when the show is really ambitious, and I don't feel the show has been particularly.
It's not been particularly ambitious.
Ambitious
It's not
series.
been bold. I mean, if you look back at even at previous seasons, Series 6, I thought really tried to push the show forward and introduce new things, vast new locations, great new camera work.
And just we said about the arc, it was ambitious with the arc and things of having the river arc, the death of the Doctor and everything like that. It was taking risks, and they didn't always work, but I admired the show for taking the risks, whereas now it was like,
I found the series to be just painfully just uninspiring, and
Yeah.
it's a shame, because this episode I've enjoyed so much, and it's got me want to talk about the show again, which is
Yeah.
great. So I'm really hoping next week's
similarly sort of,
isn't a typical Moffat disappointment.
we're hoping not, because the next week's called The Doctor Falls, I believe, so it's
Not just down a set of stairs, I assume. I assume he's
the sixth Doctor did fall off his exercise bike, and that seemingly killed it.
Oh, I know.
Killed Colin Baker's Doctor, so you
He has
never
to get
know.
a stair lift installed or something. I don't know.
Oh, please give me that. That would be great. Great as a send off for him. But
I don't think we talked about the introduction of the episode with obviously the regeneration scene.
Yeah.
We're assuming that is taking place at the end of this story.
thinking so, yeah.
But his hair is ridiculously long, so he must have spent a good.
He went down to that bottom floor, and
He was
stayed
there
down
for a couple of minutes, and then
Absolutely, that's all it took. Bill got turned into a Sideman. He got turned into John Pertwee whilst he was down there.
His jacket looked a bit ruffled. He looked like he's been through a bit of a mess. So
been through some stuff. Yeah, I think it's fair to say.
a heavy night or two. So
did you like that as a surprise sort of opening?
Yeah, I think it worked well. It got you sort of straight into the story. Well, not really part of the story, but into the episode. It begs the question, kind of, where we're going in terms of the Christmas special. Is he gonna just pause the regeneration for an hour, go into the episode, be his send off, or is he gonna? I don't know. Is it gonna take place? It's taking place after the events of this episode, isn't it?
It would be. I mean, it would be quite weird.
Weird. It wouldn't really work.
Go back to deep breath and just
God.
episode set. All around Victorian London with more T-Rexes storming the city.
Oh, don't remind me.
Oh, good times.
Oh,
good
God.
times. Great 90-minute episode. Definitely worth that. It was 80 to 90 minutes. That was a long.
How did it? Oh my God, it was awful.
Just nothing particularly much happened for much of the time. There was a lot of Clara having to validate sort of why she was against this new Doctor. There was all the teasers of why did he recognise his face, and the clockwork droids were played out quite slowly.
Yeah, it wasn't. I think it was a good introduction in some ways. But no, let's not bear any more talk on deep breath.
Stick with the good, stick with the fun
So,
episodes.
any predictions for next week?
Predictions for next week. I hope we're gonna have. Firstly, I hope we're gonna have a lot more time with Missy and the Master, because I thought, considering they hyped this two-parter up as, thanks to them spoiling John Sim, having two Masters, we actually only got virtually what we got in the trailer of him saying, give me a kiss or whatever. There was that and about 3 or 4 other lines of dialogue, and that was about it, with Missy not actually saying anything back virtually. So I hope there's a lot more of those too. The trailer seemed to show a few different variants of the Cybermen, like the ones we have from the parallel universe and the recent kind of ones we got from Nightmare and Silver and a few other episodes. So maybe you're going to have a bit of a mishmash of them, either a civil war or them working together in some way. I just hope it's a satisfying kind of way to round off the series, because we've spoken before about how Stephen Moffat can do an amazing first half. You know, he can do a brilliant setup, a great cliffhanger like we've had here of, you know, the genesis of the Cybermen, and then struggle to know, okay, how do I round this off without just pressing the reset button?
Oh yeah, I don't want to go to a parallel universe or a non-universe, or I don't want a reset button. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I hope Missy. I'm still. It's my prediction that Missy will ultimately save the Doctor in some way.
Do you think that will cost her? Because Michelle Gomez has said she doesn't see herself keeping going with Doctor Who after this.
Yeah, I think it will cost her life.
Her life.
One of many she has.
Maybe you could have her start to regenerate, but you don't see who she ends up as, so they can cast someone new down the line.
Well, obviously that she can't kill her previous self.
No.
That would not be sustainable. So it'd be interesting to see where John Simm's character goes from here.
Yeah, whether he has to be set back into his timeline willingly, or how that exactly plays out. It'd be nice to have some Capaldi versus Sim action as well, properly as well. We only really had
that would be fantastic. Yeah, it's almost a shame that he has to share the screen, and because we've not seen him in so long, and he gets this, and he has to share it with Missy and then Capaldi
and the Cybermen as well. I think that
the last time we saw him, I didn't enjoy End of Time particularly much.
Yeah, the End of Time was, like you say, him going crazy with the blonde hair. He was
kind of crazy and just running around and shooting lightning and stuff.
And turning himself into every single...
Oh, God.
Every single human being except Donna.
The VFX Doctor Who department definitely run out of money that year.
That was a great time. Obama getting turned into him as well.
Obama
had that solution. Obama had that solution for the whole...
Obama was fine, yeah. And now... Oh, God.
That was a great episode right there.
I mean, Tennant just about carried it. It was very emotional for me.
Yeah, it was. I seem to remember the second that he's going on a tangent. I remember the second half of that story, because it was part 1 and part 2. The part 1 was kind of just again a lot of setup. I remember the second half I enjoyed because it had more moments like the Doctor and Wilf
talking on the ship. That was fantastic.
And things, and just the sadness of the regeneration, and as a kid who'd grown up with these companions, seeing the Doctor go back and revisit Martha and Rose and Donna and everyone, you know, and say his goodbyes before turning into Matt Smith was great. So I hope Capaldi gets a solid sort of send off in the next couple of episodes, the finale and the Christmas special that we've got coming.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to next week. Do you know the episode title?
The Doctor Falls.
Oh, okay.
So,
you just told me. You just told me. Yeah.
Because he's going to fall down that block of stairs. Don't forget.
Oh, incredible.
It'll prompt him to get a new TARDIS set, because he'll fall down the TARDIS steps and go, you know what, I should never invested in those.
You get this from ramps. It's not very disabled access friendly, the TARDIS.
It's really not. And, you know, we inevitably need more access for those kind of characters to come in. Maybe that's why we've never had a disabled companion.
So this should be a send off. I mean, in air quotes for Capaldi. It should be hopefully a good episode. Is it an hour long?
Yes, 1 hour long, bumper length episode. So hopefully that will be, you know, made good use of to give what you were saying, give a few of these characters time to breathe a little bit, rather than making it feel like an Avengers movie where they're all crammed in and jostling for time a little bit.
Don't necessarily want a purely Cybermen focused episode, even though it is the genesis of the Cybermen.
Surprised they didn't. They probably wanted to keep the spoilers away, but surprised they didn't go with that half as the title for the...
Yeah, that would have been...
it would have given 1 or 2 things away, but...
I don't think they really cared about that anyway, yeah.
Didn't care about doing that as themselves. But yeah, hopefully satisfying end. I say we've got a great director here who has done some really great work with the special effects and the CGI on the budget, so if they can keep that going. I did see a photo overnight of... you see at one point in the Next Time trailer an explosion with the Cybermen getting flung out, and do you remember in Sherlock, the most recent Sherlock, the finale, which I know you loved, didn't you? The final problem, you weren't
I was not a fan
You
of
were
the
not
final
a big
problem.
fan of that. But you had some great CGI of the Doctor, Sherlock and Watson jumping out of Baker Street. And
Oh
the
yeah,
explosion.
yeah.
There's a brilliant... So someone's
was
melded it together. So you've got Sherlock and Watson being flung away from this explosion with all the Cybermen
God.
doing their sort of flailing look to it. So if we can get that in the episode, that would make my day. But, not too Cybermen focused. Give the Masters some time to breathe. Give Bill... in one way or another, a definitive conclusion to that story.
I'm hoping that
back.
that conversation near the beginning where the Doctor's talking to her about just don't let me die, and he's like, at least try. I can't see her dying in this episode. I can see her just being returned to her normal form. Maybe not with the hole in her chest.
Maybe we'll have a cyber companion for the whole of the next series.
Just like with that voice from the original, just the Doctor. I can't even do it. But
catchphrase will be I waited for you. Every companion waits.
They all wait.
The girl who waited. You got the Cyberman who waited.
Yeah.
It's all about waiting around with the Doctor. There's a lot of, and quite literally with this time ship. So
you've got to kind of question at what point does the Doctor treat his companions well? Like at this point, he's just given up trying to kind of help them in any way.
It becomes quite an abusive friendship, really. To be honest, when you're letting them shoot you and then faking your own death and things, as he's done this series, or
wiping their brains.
Wiping their brains, trying to wipe Bill's brain at the beginning.
Or just letting them run off with your clone of you. In Rose's case.
Great send off right there. Totally worthwhile way to send off Rose is just give her a copy of David Tennant and he'll say I love you. So that's all. It's
fine. Or in the deleted scene, give them the bit of coral.
Yes,
you can grow the TARDIS.
I still liked that idea because they would have been, as long as they didn't try and break through into this universe, they would have been totally entitled to.
How boring would that be? Just like working the day job at Torchwood, just like running around. I don't know. It's
well, clearly too boring for some after they cancelled Torchwood after the 4 series. So
there's good reason for that. That's the second rule of Cultiverse. We don't
talk Walking Dead, no Miracle Day.
We don't talk about Miracle Day on this podcast.
Feel dirty even for mentioning it, really.
So any final thoughts?
Just as we say, it's set up in a strong way. I think because this season's been lacking
it needs to be good.
Yeah, it's been lacking a truly great story. It needs now.
And if it wasn't, I was trying to interrupt, but if it wasn't for Capaldi wanting to leave, the ratings were forced him anyway. I would have thought so.
It feels like it right now. It feels like the ratings last. So Oxygen had the lowest rating for a Doctor Who episode since 2005, but that's been topped twice recently. Empress and Mars was even lower than that, I think, and last week's episode, the Eaters of Light.
Yeah, they're just plummeting by the looks of it.
It just seems like it. So I think they desperately need this new Doctor and new showrunner. The showrunner of Broadchurch coming on can't hurt the show's credibility, hopefully. So fingers crossed that's gonna be a turnout for the better next series, and actually again a bit more ambitious. Broadchurch had an arc running all the way through it. Maybe you get something like that.
Excellent. So that probably will wrap up this podcast. We were going to do a segment on our most anticipated stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But we might leave that for next week, I think.
We absolutely can do. I mean, there's a lot.
So there's Dunkirk, obviously War of the Planet of the Apes coming up, and Spider-Man Homecoming.
All coming next month. July. Yeah, next
Excellent.
month. So it's a busy.
So look forward to hearing our ridiculous opinions on all of those.
Obviously, absolutely ridiculous.
After a lot of the films this year, we're quite excited for all of those.
We haven't had a great deal of.
With the exception of Get Out, which you watched recently, which you really enjoyed.
I thought that was fantastic recently. But Alien Covenant, you weren't.
Oh, we could dedicate a whole podcast to Alien Covenant, but we won't because I don't want to.
Well, when they do the sequel next year, we can, inevitably start.
Oh God, what an awful film! What an awful film!
And on that note, we'll leave you to go off and watch Alien Covenant for yourself and go confirm how bad it is.
Please don't watch it. Just don't.
Well, you heard it here first. Another big exclusive from us. But so that I think that'll about do it for the podcast.
Thanks a lot for watching. Or listening. One of the two.
Well, if you're watching, we hope you enjoyed that black screen you're watching very much. We'll try and upload an image to accompany it, so you're not just get Cultiverse, nice word art. We'll get that.
Word art, you know.
You can't go wrong with
The
it.
orange with the stroke, yeah, that's what you want.
Absolutely. So now we've determined what we're going to do so you don't have a black screen. We
Excellent.
hope you've enjoyed listening, and we'll look forward to showing you our next episode really soon.